who knows? Maybe she decided to just consume those herself.
Yeah.
But she deserves it. She works hard for hardly anything. Nobody gets paid enough. Is that fair to say? No. Ah, no phone call today.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we turn the quiz questions of the week late, how much do you dock?
I don't.
You
I don't.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, because I am consistently pretty late.
Oh. Then you're on time.
Oh, thank you. That is great, because
No, I do fine actually with math, but I just say I'm math avoidant, if that makes sense.
yeah.
I'm much more interested in just giving everybody an A.
That's amazing.
And hey, you already paid for the course, and my wife got the money. You know. Yeah. So I want you to enjoy the course, and I believe in philosophy. I'm convinced that studying philosophy is good for us, and gives us a particular Ubermensch-like point of view, which, despite the hype about all the bad folks that go for the Ubermensch, like Steve Bannon and probably the whole Trump crowd and the Project 2025.
I talked to my boss about philosophy. I was like, yeah, I mentioned you the other day. He's like, what? What did you say? I was like, you're
Oh, that boss?
Yeah, I was like, you're a white supremacist.
Did you
He's
tell
like,
him?
yeah. No, I'm very open with him about everything. He's just,
That's
he's
awesome.
like, why is that a bad thing?
I
Why is
remember
that a
you bring
bad
that up
thing?
in class.
I'm
I was
like, why is it a bad thing to be a white supremacist? He's like, yeah, why is that a bad thing? I'm like, I don't think anything that I could say to you is going to change your mind at all. I think it's kind of just a wasted argument.
Well,
I
number
don't
one-
argue with him because there's really no
Number
point
one,
really
there's no
doing
such
it.
thing as a white race. I mean, that's a social
He's like-
construct,
Yeah,
relatively recent and ridiculous.
so stupid.
The whole concept of race, I don't think, it's also a social construct, and let's face it, the real major issue would be if you can mate with one another, you're of the same species, right? That kind of seems to be
Yeah.
the division with species, right? And that's the real thing. So if someone like Thomas Jefferson can have children by his cousin, who's his slave, because she was, well, you're familiar with Sally Hemings. Okay, so, I mean, to me, there's no such thing as a race. They're clearly
Yeah.
human. And I was neat, just yesterday I saw a short video. I don't know how I got it, but the lady explained that they had just discovered 2 mummified corpses in the Sahara Desert that were 7,000 years old. If I'm remembering right. 7,000.
Mummified, purposely mummified, or
No, it was accidentally. In fact, there were 15 corpses found in the same place,
wow.
and 2 of them were women that were preserved so well that they could get the DNA from them.
Oh.
And they checked them and discovered that they didn't fit any of the DNA patterns for humans that we already had in our history. So these are not, they're human. They're not like a hominid, of some precursor or whatever. But they're not a part of the genes that moved into Europe and merged with the Neanderthal. They're not part of the other ones that they're just
That's crazy.
boom, they pop, just came out of no place. And but they're completely human. But you know, she was all excited because they're convinced now that the Sahara was a big green area, you know, full of all kinds of things. She was making a hypothesis that it might have been Atlantis, what Plato was talking about. You know, who knows? But if she's, you know, telling the truth, and there were two corpses that had DNA that didn't match other but they would be human. You know, how do they determine that? But so when you talk about white supremacy, you know, that's absolutely ridiculous, just on the face of it.
Yeah, he's like, if they could sue Black Lives Matter, I could be a white supremacist. And I'm like, I think you're a little off there, buddy. Like, I don't think you're getting it.
At least Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to be maturing.
Oh, the fact that I'm living in a world where I am in someone.
I just realized I'm recording this, but
no, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, like it's really cool to see, you know, like
Kamala Harris.
Carlson, like what's going on there?
Kamala Harris was asked about it, and she says, "I don't think we should complain about anyone who's learning,
Yeah.
you know, maturing."
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. It's very, very interesting time politically, especially in the United States, to experience.
You know, the more I read about history, though, the more it looks like it's normal. I don't see any historical period in our history that didn't have extreme controversy. I mean, you know, the worst would be the Civil War.
Yeah.
That would be the real worst. I mean, you know, some friends of mine just, you know, think we're in for another Civil War. You know, you know, but
I mean, I kind of like somewhat hope a little bit. Like I feel like if we keep going the way we're going, like
that's what I said. It's gonna
we're
be
actually
smart to happen.
we're actually more in, you know, closer together than ever, because the social media, even though it silos us, actually focuses our attention on so many similar issues that we're really united in our arguments over it. And if you think about it, that actually brings us closer, because we're clearly upset about the way things are.
The algorithm right. Clearly, they haven't really done their job, which what they want to do is like not have that happen. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. My Instagram algorithm is like on it. Like I have this little community and it's super great. And however, nobody else that follows me can see, like if they don't engage in the kind of content that I engage in, which is basically just like things about like humanity and stuff like that. Then they don't like really see any of the stuff that I post. But the people who do see it, who engage in that kind of stuff, do see it though. So yeah, it's kind of just building communities for people based on what they believe in.
Oh, that was silly. Gosh, it's already time.
Are you his son?
Do I have a son?
Are you his son?
I'm Jamison, so no, I'm not related. Other than being human, as we were just discussing, and appreciative of much of his. I trimmed my beard or my mustache a little too soon, because look, his mustache is pretty darn full as well. However, that's just silly. What? What did I do? I don't want that one. Let's do. There we go. Must be the time to do that sort of thing, I guess. Can't forget, there's too many people actually. So, gosh, I'm a whole minute late. That clock is off a little bit. Oh well. So hello. We're, as usual, down to fewer and fewer people here because we're getting closer and closer to the end. I don't know why that works, but it's an algorithm. I've been teaching long enough to know that by the end of the semester, I'll remind you, don't forget about your term paper. That's 25% of the grade. And believe it or not, some people actually do the 3 tests, and they've been doing the quiz questions, but they get to the very end and they wonder, what happened to my grade? And I'm like, you didn't do a term paper. And I said, term paper? What term paper? Don't miss the term paper. That's, a big part of the grade. To some extent I appreciate it, because I do want everybody to get an A, but they do actually grade me. And if I give everybody an A, they actually give me a bad grade. Because I'm not supposed to give everybody A's. It's not. Believe it or not, they're confused. They want everybody to get an A, but they don't. They want everybody to come to college, but they don't. I don't know. They're confused about a lot of things. The whole point of what college is for, even, is kind of an interesting issue. I've been reading the last couple of days on William James because it always helps me to refresh my mind by reading something that I haven't read yet about somebody that I'm, I didn't read up on Nietzsche because I'm loaded with Nietzsche, so I don't need to read more on Nietzsche. But in general, I was reading on William James. I have a biography of his, and it's interesting because it gets into all the nitty-gritty of his illnesses, his family, his children, his 2 houses. He's having trouble because he's writing his Principles of Psychology, but he's also building 2 houses at the same time, plus living at Cambridge. This is a rich person who's overloaded with all the things he's trying to do, etc. Well, let me get into just pragmatism itself, and then we'll pick on James and Charles Sanders Peirce, and it's pronounced Peirce, and you can frequently have trouble remembering whether it's P-I-E-R-C-E or P-E-I-R-C-E. God bless you.
Thank you.
It's P-I-E-R-C-E, Peirce, and pronounced Peirce. I've learned that. In fact, I have to be careful because one of the colleagues that I had here, who not only was the chair for a while, but also became the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences before he retired, and then took a position as the provost at SUNY New York, in the one closest to the Great Lakes, which was where he was from. But his specialty was Charles Sanders Peirce, and he's written at least 2 or 3 books on Charles Sanders Peirce. And they're in the library. We didn't actually have one of them, and I asked the librarians, how come we don't have Jim's book? And they went, oh, and they got it. So that's kind of neat. So he's a specialist on Charles Sanders Peirce. and he's important. American Outburst. This is a quote from a book which I highly recommend, which is The Metaphysical Club by Louis Menand. I should actually, I'll show you that one. So Louis Menand won an award. It doesn't have the thing on it, on the book, on this picture, but it has a great big gold star on my copy because it won the Pulitzer Prize for history. But I highly recommend it. But he in his book discusses 4 specific pragmatists: Charles Sanders Peirce, William James, John Dewey, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Oliver Wendell Holmes, was also a pragmatist. And these 4 individuals are thought of as the Metaphysical Club, although Charles Dewey actually was never associated with Harvard. I don't know why. Even Groke thought John Dewey had something to do with Harvard, but he's not part of that. I've also put up Ralph Waldo Emerson, kind of important. Oliver Wendell Holmes, William James, Charles Sanders Peirce, and John Dewey. Okay, so back to this quote from that book. He says, "It's an American outburst. During the late 19th century and the early 20th century, there was an outburst and flourishing of philosophic activity in America. The key figures drew upon a variety of European orientations." And notice, I've all along, as I brought up Hegel,